my views before this August gathering. Binayji, who is the director of this institution, Sunilji, who is administering the stage, and Prabhatji, who is ever present in all our functions where books are released. As I said, integral humanism is not exactly the translation or transliteration of Ekatma Manavad. English is a very inadequate language to capture our feelings, our philosophy, our culture, our way of life. But still, this is the mechanism which has been given to us to handle the world. So we have to handle our own English educated audience, because much of our country is run by the English educated mind people and English educated academics. So we have to use that language to communicate as much as possible our way of life. Ekatma Manava Darshan talks about Ekatma. This is the most critical part of the entire theoretical foundation of Deen Dayalji. When Deen Dayalji was expounding this idea of Ekatma, it is only science which have accepted this idea. Three great Nobel laureates. One is Schrödinger, the next is Niels Bohr, the third is Brian Josephson. These are great national Nobel laureates in science. They said the entire universe, what is the foundation or the functioning mechanism of this universe? When the world was being looked at by Newton, Newton constructed this world, this whole building, this you, me, the world, the different planets. Newton said these are all real. But quantum mechanics said these are only appearances. All this has come out of the atom. Atom is not something which you can see. Trillions and trillions of atoms moving in a regular fashion, the atomic waves, that create this appearance. So the Newtonian theory became unacceptable to science when the quantum mechanics came. So how did the atom come into being? When this was being debated, Einstein said you have to move faster than the light backwards to understand how atom came. And this was revealed in the Big Bang theory, that a 1/1,000,000th of an atom developed such heat, it exploded and produced several trillion megatons of atomic energy, and that is what he is expanding and seeing all this, what we are seeing. The physical universe came out of this 1/1,000,000th of an atom, which exploded. Then they said, how did this 1/1,000,000th of an atom came? Schrödinger said, you have to look at the Vedas to find out how did it come. I have spoken in IIT, I have spoken in IIM. No one knows about it. He's a Nobel laureate. And Niels Bohr, he said, I began asking questions about the universe only after I began reading Vedas and Upanishads. And this all happened before Deen Dayalji. This is very important. When Deen Dayalji spoke about Ekatma, he spoke about that ultimate consciousness, which is one pervading consciousness, which informs the entire creation. It's not just human beings. And I am going to reveal more how I understood Deen Dayalji in the context of economics, culture, way of life, and the relationship between man and nature and man. Unless we have this helicopter view, reading Deen Dayalji was a rishi. Every rishi spoke only 2 sentences. Isavasamidam sarvam yatkinjan jagatyam jagati tena tena punjidaha magrita kasyas vidhanam. You know what is the meaning of it? The entire universe is governed by one force, and all that you see is out of that force. You take as little as possible so that balance is available to others. This is how Isavasya Upanishad conceptualized how human beings must use the resources which have come out of that one single source. Tons of materials have been written about it. That is how Deen Dayal ji conceptualized integral humanism in 4 lectures 60 years back. And it is not that he propounded integral humanism, he actually expounded it. It was there in our Vedas, in our Upanishads, in our Puranas, He culled it out and made it relevant for the context in which he was speaking. As I said, I am not going to go into the theoretical foundations. I will only talk about how Deen Dayal ji's integral humanism or Ekatma Manavvada actually functions on the ground in this country and only in this country. There are 3 foundations of Ekatma Manavvada. One is, it is a civilizational perspective. It gives a helicopter perspective. You see the past, you see now, and you also see how we will move into the future. No great thinker outside the Bharatiya domain has been able to relate the past to the present and what will happen in future, except that they moved from the present to the future, which was not leading the world to the direction in which the world should be going. The second thing is the silo-free. For example, looking at everything as a disconnected, independent area, whether it is economics or whether it is sociology or whether it is philosophy or whether everything is integrated, interconnected. And this specialization, super specialization, has destroyed the very idea of knowledge. Today, if you go to a eye hospital, there are 11 specialists for your eyes. Which specialist will see will have to be decided by a machine. 30 years before it was not like that. 25 years before it was not like that. Today, super specialization has reduced the idea of knowledge which you secure by integrating all the areas of all domains of knowledge. Integral humanism is a helicopter view which connects all the disconnected, interconnected particles of knowledge which is confusing us. All this I am going to relate with reference to actual life, with reference to facts. Third thing is, there is integrality of the individual, the family, the society, to ultimately nature. This is what Deen Dayal ji said as Vyashti, Samashti and Parameshti. This is what Isavasya Upanishad said. Everything is ultimately on that one universal consciousness. You call it God, you call it nature, you call it anything, or universal power. So, this is the background, these 3 foundations. Whether these foundations have a factual basis, is there any proof for it? That is what I will examine now. The substance of integral humanism in actual life is a trade-off in the modern language. There is a trade-off between the individual and the family, between the family and the society, between the society and the nation, and ultimately everything is related to the universe. In Mahabharata, the sloka is Tyajatyeham kulasyarte gramarte kulam tyajet gramam janavadasyarte atmarte pratim tyajet. The individual and the family trade off each other. The family and the society, that is the grama. They trade off. That is, the individual subordinates himself to the family subordinates itself to the grama, and that subordinates itself to the nation. Gramarthe kulam, gramam janapadasya. That is, the superior position is given to the nation. Ultimately, it is the universe which governs, the nature which governs everything. This is the integral relationship. And this is intermediated by non-formal moral order. This is a beautiful book written by an American. What is the difference between the Indian way of life and the Western way of life? Western way of life is formal order. Bharatiya way of life is informal order. Informal normative order. This is what is dharma. Nobody enforces it. Nobody commands anybody to follow it. Everybody feels it is his duty to do it. It is founded on the idea of duty. That is why when the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was sent to Mahatma Gandhi by H.G. Wells, Mr. Gandhi, you must sign this. Mahatma Gandhi said, I will sign this provided you change the title into Universal Declaration of Human Duties. He said these duties which have sustained the civilization for thousands and thousands of years. Rights will destroy the sense of duty, so I will not sign it. Today we are celebrating human rights. I am going to tell you how much it is capable of destroying the integrality which Deen Dayal ji conceptualized and given to us. And now, what is the proof I am giving for this? I am going to give you the proofs like the Newtonian falling apples. Apples were falling. Everybody was looking at the falling apple, but nobody asked why the apples were falling. Newton asked this question. It's not that I am saying Newton is right, but Newton's inquiry is right. So, we see this happening. I am going to give you simple facts about Bharat. We have 2.4% of global land area. And we have 18% of global population. We have 30% of global bovine population. We have 42% of world's cattle population. We have 8% of bioresources. We have 21% forest coverage. This is an ecological wonder. How in a small piece of land, America is 3.5 times the size of India. It has 1/5 of Indian bovine population. You look at China, which is 3.5 times the size of India. It has 1/4 of India's bovine population. So when we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, Vasudha is not world, Vasudha is earth. This earth belongs to everybody. How is it that we are able to live with an unbelievable number of human beings and other beings on a small piece of land? This is a functioning reality. And all this data, if you want, it is in our world in data.com. This is one of the data sources which shocked me. And how, by what scientific or social laws this happened, I am going to tell you now. You know, we have only the entire world, if you look at it, 71% of the world is sea, 29% is land, out of which 10% is agricultural land, of which we have 1% agricultural land. 1/2 of India is agricultural land. We use the entire agricultural land for cereal cultivation. This is the most important secret we have to understand. Why so many human beings, 18% of world's population and 30 to 42% of the world's cattle population and bovine population can live together. The secret is the fact that we use our entire agricultural land for producing cereals. And I tell you what cereals do. 83% of the calorie values is given only by cereals. Only 17% comes from meat. This is throughout the whole world. And cereals give you 37% of the protein value. and meat gives you 37%. That is why we have so much of cereal eating population. Our meat consumption per head per annum is 3.1 kg. This lower meat consumption and our 168 kilos of cereal consumption, the balance between meat and cereal is what makes this whole thing possible. There's a trade-off. It's not that we are a vegetarian society. 2/3 of Bharatiya society is non-vegetarian. But we use non-vegetarian only as a sabji. On a Friday we won't eat. On a Saturday we won't eat. Amavasya we don't eat. What is all this? These are all the scientific principles which the great rishis, saints and seers are given to us to see that the meat consumption is less. America, for instance, 128 kilos is per head per annum. It is 180 in South Africa. Almost 110 in European Union. You may ask, what's wrong? If somebody eats meat, let them eat. But you know, if all Indians decide to eat like Americans, we will need 6 times the agricultural land we have. Our size of India has to be 2.5 times, 3 times more. Because to produce meat takes so much of energy, and you have to produce cereals to produce meat. You produce cereals which give you 83% of the calorie value to produce meat which gives you 17% of the calorie value. And if all Indians, Bharatiyas, tomorrow shift their eating habits, there can be no Bharat. This is the Newtonian falling apple facts which are falling. We don't know how this whole nation is being sustained. And this is the Rishi-Krishi combination. The Rishis found out this secret that without only by cereals. Another fact I must tell you, 1 kilo of meat gives 10 to 100 times more CO2 gas emission than cereals. 35% of the global CO2 gas emission, which is the biggest problem of the world today, comes out of meat. It's not that we are not meat eaters. We also enjoy meat. But we know how to enjoy it in a limited way so as not to damage environment, so as not to damage our own agriculture, to ensure that all the people get food, the calories. Who found out this meat cereal mix? It is the Rishi and the Krishi combination. So this civilization was built up by rishis, saints and seers who gave us a philosophy, and the philosophy gave us the aim of life, and the aim of life gave us the lifestyle gave us the habits gave us what we need to eat and what we need to have, and if you disturb the philosophy, everything will get disturbed. There is an integrality. And because of this, our country remained extremely peaceful country. I would like you to go, as soon as you get out of this meeting, go and Google a website, Power Kills. In that website, for the last 2,500 years, how human beings have massacred human beings all over the world has been listed. Date-wise, how many people died? 1.2 billion people died in 2,500 years. You know, the only place where there was no killing, mass killing, was Bharat till the 13th century. This is an international research by Professor Alzey Ramal, who did this research for 33 years. He was a Hawaii University professor. Our non-violence was extended in every sphere. That's why we were non-violent amongst ourselves. If you are kind to the animals, you will definitely be kind to the human beings. That is the message that our rishis gave. And when you look at the idea of Ekatma Manavada, you cannot limit it only to economics, trade, commerce, government, or government policies. The government is integral to the whole thing. Government is not the promoter. Government should not obstruct it, should not disturb it. So, this is how, even today, it's not only that we didn't have huge violence, we didn't kill people. The only violent war that was reported in 2500 years, that is before the 13th century, for 1800 years, it was only Ashoka's Kalinga war, in which 100,000 people died. So, even today, we are the country with the lowest level of crime. If you look at the United Nations data, it shows that in terms of murders, in terms of dacoities, in terms of public crimes, India is among the lowest. In fact, in terms of rape, India does not figure in the list of countries at all, in spite of the fact our media says that India is a country of rapists. That is the extent to which we have made our people illiterates. Because we don't look at the fact, we don't counter. Even the government doesn't do. Because the government officials do not do. We need a totally different mechanism to present the Indian civilization to our people and to the world. These are all available. All the data is available. Now I will come to Deen Dayal ji. How he perceived this. He said that there was a disruption. One disruption was physical. The other disruption was intellectual. The physical disruption came during the Muslim period, where they disturbed the functioning society. The social order got disturbed. And in the colonial period, they disturbed our mind. You know what kind of debate was going on in the world? William Archer said this is a barbaric society. He was the one who not only told the world India is barbaric, he told the Indian academics, Indian sociologists, Indian historians. And then came, this was in the 18th century, the 19th century, Karl Marx. Karl Marx said India is a semi-barbaric society. He wrote 2 articles in New York Herald Tribune in the year 1854, before he wrote the Das Kapital, where he said that India is a very peculiar country. It has a village republic that there is the least amount of exploitation in the society because the distance between the producer and the consumer is so little that there is no exploitation. But the problem is this country has not changed for the last 2,000 years. So, to change this, prepare this society for revolution, the British are doing the right thing by destroying the socio-economic base of India. And he quoted Goethe to say, it is a pleasurable destruction. The man never came to India. He never met any Indian. He never met any Indian literature. He spoke about India and he completely changed and confused the intellectual discourse of India. Then came Max Weber. Max Weber was the father of modern Western civilization. Because I don't want to go deep into it except to state this because this will be undenied. Everybody will accept it. He said that every nation will develop. 2 nations cannot develop. The nation which follows Hinduism and Buddhism because they believe in karma and rebirth. India and China will never develop under modern capitalist conditions. You know, these 2 great people were, even today, it is they who control the academic mind of India. Max Weber and Karl Marx. That you are unfit for development, that you have to ignore your past. You have to become unlike what you are. A Bharatiya has to cease to be a Bharatiya to develop. In 1951, the United Nations set out a circular, which was accepted by the whole world, that if you want to develop, you have to give up your philosophy, your value systems, your way of life. Otherwise, you can't develop. That is how you are taught. Our economics, everything followed that course. And this was happening. And in 1978, the economic advisor to the government of India said, when he was asked the question, that socialist countries are developing. You are also a socialist country. You are not developing. He said, what can you do? We may be a socialist country. We are also a Hindu country. We can have only the Hindu rate of growth. Professor Raj Krishna made this shameless statement. This is being repeated even today in 1978. In 1983, something stunning happens. Paul Bayrock was mandated by the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff to find out the economic growth of the world between 1750 and 1900. And he came out with a stunning finding that in the year 1750, China was number one country with 30% of world GDP. India was the number two country with 25% of world GDP. And America and England put together just 2%. And he said everything changed in 1900. America and England rose to 42%. India and China crashed to 8%. India 1.8% and China 6.2%. And that's how rich nations became poor nations. Many French sociologists began saying, let us admit that in the 17th century, 16th century, India and China had much better standard of living than Europe. This could not be tolerated. Then the OECD countries constituted a research by the Development Studies Institute, headed by Angus Madison. And he came out with a report and he started saying Paul Bayrock's methodology is wrong. And I am going to do it. And after 18 years of work, he put out World Economic History, a millennial perspective, where he said from the first year of the Common Era to 17th century, India was the leading economic power of the world. When I mentioned this, IIT people did not know. When I spoke there, they asked me to take classes. That is the extent to which the Indian academia, Indian public discourse, Indiaji knew this. He said it is this disruption, this intellectual disruption that has made us unaware of who we are. Then I will come to, you have this Integral Humanism, page 11, where Dindayalji says, where should we start? 60 years before Dindayalji asked this question, where do we start? And now we have to ask the question, where did we start and where we are today and where we will be? And that is what I am going to tell you now. Where do we stand? You know, when China began developing, China was 0, America was 100. Deng Xiaoping targeted that I have to grow only by sapping the American blood. He told his people, let us bide our time. 30 years China overtook America. Almost overtook America means in many areas. They will overtake America. Maybe in another 30-35 years they will become the number one nation. Because they chose to be long-term players. India is a long-term player. We should not compare ourselves on a day-to-day basis, decadal basis, yearly basis with the Western countries, which are short-term. You know, after 2008 economic crisis, there were many researches why the American economy or the Western economy became weak, because they were short-termists. And so short-termist, overnight interest rates began deciding the mood of the nations. Quarterly results became more important. So they became short-termist, but we are long-term because our life has a beginning. We have a previous life also. We have a later life also. So our life has a longer idea. So we are a long-term society. They are short-termist, and we are always seen to be behind, but actually we will be ahead. I tell you how. Colonialism lasted for 200 years. Mercantile capitalism lasted for 100 years. Communism lasted for 50 years. Globalization lasted for 25 years. My colleagues in the Swadeshi Jagran Manch are there when we were talking in 1990s that globalization will collapse. We were called fools. We were called Neanderthal economists. Justice Jagdish Bhagavati, who was the economist, he told me, Gurumurthy, were an economist, you can call me a Bharatanatyam dancer. That is the extent to which we were humiliated. Today, globalization is dead because we shall short-term approach to the world. A civilizational approach is a long-term approach. And this is what great thinkers did. And I am not saying Deng Xiaoping is a great thinker, but he understood the difference between the Chinese society and the Western society. And so he gave a formulation: let us not compare ourselves on a day-to-day basis or quarterly basis or yearly basis. Let us work. So our people are like that. Our lifestyle is like that. That is why we are saving space. We spend less. Our women are the very, very important sources of economic well-being. This I have always said. In 2001, when I spoke to a group of Americans, I said, Indian economy is feminine in character. They will not waste anything. They will turn waste into wealth. Whereas America turns wealth into waste. See, two different paradigms. This is the substance. But what happened after Deen Dayalji is important. Deen Dayalji lamented in the same para, page 11, that we were fighting only for our survival for 1,000 years. So we have not been able to contribute to the world. This is because we, after Krishna and Kautilya, one Banabhatta came. I don't know how many people have read the Dharmashastra volumes of Bhandarkar Institute. Krishna said, you should treat the enemy like how he will treat you. When Arjuna was hesitant to hit Karna, he said, hit him. He said he cannot defend himself. He has no right to the benefit of dharma because he gave up dharma when Draupadi was being disrobed. Kill him. This is a new formulation. It was not there before. If you look at Rama, Rama told Ravana, you come back tomorrow. Krishna said, you kill Arjuna, you kill him. This was captured by Kautilya. The best description about Kautilya interaction with Alexander, you will be surprised to know, I got in Pakistan government's website. Pakistan government's website has a chapter called the History and Culture of Pakistan, which says, our forefather was Takshaka. Who is saying it? Pakistan government website. And Takshashila University was a great university. We promoted all the world leaders used to come and read here. This is where Kautilya taught. This is where Chandragupta Maurya, Ashoka were all students. Where do you find this? In Pakistan government website. I asked Mr. Ajit Doval, how is it that it is appearing? He said they have no other history to write. There that website says that Alexander came and there was an interaction between Alexander and Kautilya. Kautilya, simply because you have a huge army, you cannot hit. You have to give notice to the other side. They may negotiate with you. They may not have a war with you. They may even surrender to you. He said, who are you? We have not known such a law. Then he ordered his arrest. Kautilya wrote, Pakistan government website says Kautilya ran so fast he could not be captured. He went to the forest. He conceptualized that we have a very different enemy to face. Then in the Arthashastra, he advocated what is known as Lobha Vijaya, that you have to conquer. Previously, if an Indian king won, he has to hand over the kingdom back to the defeated king. Kautilya said, no, you have to seize that kingdom. You have to build an empire. You have to have a rebellion army. You have to have finances. Then only you can have an empire. Unless you have an empire, you cannot face the new enemy. 10 centuries, India had a very powerful Hindu empire till almost the 8th century. When Banabhatta came in the 4th century in Bihar, he said, that our people began clashing, because when everybody had army, then we also began clashing. This Kautilya had made us violent. He is an adharmi. You know what was the consequence? Arthashastra books were burnt all over India. Only one copy escaped. That is in Tanjore. And that was gifted, Tanjore Maharaja Library. And that was gifted to the Mysore Maharaja Library in 1909, translated into English in 1913. That was the extent to which there was ambivalence in India about violence. Bharatiyas, Hindus, our saints and seers had always this ambivalence. How much violence we should allow? This will unnecessarily result in killing. And this course correction took place only because of two great individuals. One in the north, Guru Gobind Singh, and in the south, it is Chhatrapati Shivaji. They said you have to treat the enemy in the way in which they treat you. If Prithviraj Chauhan had done this in Delhi, we would never have become a lost nation. We excused him like we will excuse our own king. This is what Deen Dayalji said as the intellectual confusion. And we have to get out of it. With the result, a 1,000-year strategic deficit was there in India, which was corrected in stages. You know, Bharatiya Janasangh was the only party which said we should produce atom bomb. Supposed to be blasphemous in India. Unacceptable. When we actually exploded the atom bomb in 1998, Bill Clinton said that a land of Gandhi and Buddha has done this. We were always a land of Gandhi and Buddha. Did you respect us? Did you give us value? Only the sound of atom bomb made India a country which the West accepts, because it is a world of power. We needed the grammar of power to handle the West, because West is very violent. As I said, R.J. Ramal said 1.2 billion people were killed. See how India has moved. 1971, we first proved. 74, we exploded the first atom bomb. 1998, the Pokhran atom bomb. 2016, the surgical strike. 2019, the air strike. Very different country. It is not, this is the country India Deen Dayalji wanted. We have to go back to our, Guruji used to say Parakramavada. And we are a different country. Our ambivalence to violence and war has ceased. If there is bloodshed by you, we will shed your blood. This is what the Prime Minister said. This did not happen in 2008 when the whole country was saw for 48 hours. Bombay was being ravaged. We were carrying candlesticks. The same violence today, it is not candlesticks, it is Brahmos. Finally, we have now moved far ahead. We are now a respected nation in the world. Nobody can ignore us. We are not a pushover. And we are emerging as a future hope for the world. People are looking at GDP, people are looking at this. I will tell you, finally, what the American society is about today. Many people think Trump is tariff. No. Trump's problem is that in 1960, America had 87.5% non-Hispanic white population. It became 70%, 72% in 2000. Today it is 58%. In 2030, it will become 54%. By 2040, America will cease to be a white American nation. This is the problem. And Pew Research Institute wrote, what is the problem with America? In America, it is only the state, it is the constitution, it is the party, it is the president, it is the rule of law, it is the court which unifies America. Pew Research says that, like in all countries, there is division in America, polarization in America between two political parties. 60% of the Republicans won't marry into Democrat families and vice versa today. It used to be 5% 20 years back. So, families are torn, localities are torn, communities are torn. In 2022, it's all available in the internet, you can go and see. 5 American chief of staff and 6 defense secretaries wrote a letter to the Pentagon saying that if a Trump or Trump-like figure contests the 2024 election and loses, there will be civil war in America. It will not be in the border. It will be within the family. It will be in the neighborhood. It will be on the basis of religion, color, race. You know why? 2015, the Time magazine came out. Then only you will understand what is integral humanism, Ekanatma Manavada. In 2015, Times magazine came out with a beautiful story. Italy has 30,000 canonized saints. Every locality, every street, every village will have a canonized saint. Their place, their houses, their churches, they are all sacred places. You know, in America, till now there are only 3 canonized saints. There is no sacred river, there is no sacred mountain, there is no sacred place. It's a top-down statecraft. You look at ours is a bottom-upward statecraft. That is why 67 crore people assembled one place in 45 days. Nobody invited them. I was there for 3 days. I was just looking at the crowd. They were carrying children, they were carrying elders, they were carrying bags, they were sleeping wherever they go. Fundamental unity of India. The integrality cutting across everything. The nation as sacred. That is fundamental to the idea of Ekatma Manavada. And so we have to look at it in this sense and not limited to mere economics, trade, commerce. And I am happy that I got this opportunity to share this idea. By 2047, India's GDP and all that is quite different. But India will emerge as Bharat will emerge as the model nation, society, state of the world. Thank you.